Hey folks, so I got a request to do a video about staffing. And staffing is a little bit hard to understand, so I'm happy to walk through it a little bit. So first of all, let's just open up the staffing window. And the way the way like hiring works is like every time you expand your capacity, so like you open a new airport, a new route, or buy a new plane or lease a new plane, you're going to get more workers to like staff those facilities or that equipment. And when that happens, you will see like a little red plus mark here in this hiring process tab, and it'll let you basically when you first buy a plane. So for example, you're going to get a bunch of like temporary agency workers, and those workers are actually higher cost than like permanent employees. So if you hire them to be permanent recruits, then the costs per day to employ them goes down. So you want to definitely do that every time you open a new route and open or buy a new airplane. And then basically, as we look at this general information chart, like when you start training up your staff, they can have a positive impact on your airline attributes. So here you can see, I don't have a ton of staff yet. I guess 5,408 workers so far. But when you train them up into various competency areas, it will give you bonus points in your attributes. So you can see here I have plus 15 for my staff for entertainment, plus 14 for ancillary revenues, and plus 6 for passenger demand. And if you want to know more about how that works, just click this more information button on the right hand side. It'll show you initially just like information about how much it costs to employ these workers. So as you can see, agency workers are more expensive than recruits. And then as you train up higher up the levels, of course, it's more expensive. But this is just money. The more interesting chart is if you click on the top left, there's a bonus system button. Click bonus system, and it'll explain to you a little bit about how the attributes will actually change as you train people up. And sort of the important numbers to note here are that it's all kind of like in groups of 500. Like I think at 250 there's a threshold when you use professionals, but I always just train up in groups of 500 and actually 505 for a reason I'll explain in just a second. But so 500 professionals will provide 2 bonus points in attribute A and 2 bonus points in attribute B. And so that's why you want to train up in groups of 500. And then managers, like it's actually kind of hard to get up to 500 managers, and I'll show you why. But the main benefit of managers is you see in the lower right corner is that they reduce the cost of your other employees. And if you click this little magnifying glass, it'll explain to you how that works. So each manager can only manage 100 employees. So you won't only want to have one manager for every 100 employees. And then each managed employee will cost 10% less. And if the ratio of managed employees is above 1 to 100, then the manager's salary will increase. So these are important numbers to keep in mind. And that's why I said when you train up in groups of 505. So you're going to train up 505 so that you can have 500 professionals and 5 managers in each competency group. Okay? All right, we're going to close this. And then I'll just show you how training actually works. So if you click on the training button here, it's going to give you a bunch of different options of where you can train. So there's airport operations, and you can scroll down. There's cargo, ground services, air navigation service providers, and airline management. And each one of these groups has different characteristics or attributes that they impact. So if you want to have a bonus in entertainment, I think airline management is probably the best way to go. But you kind of have to look around and see, what categories you're interested in improving, and sort of work off of that. So if you wanted safety, then maybe you would do the airport operations, and if you wanted punctuality, you would go for ground services. So that's sort of the first thing to note. And then as far as, you see I have a bunch of recruits here, 358. I haven't trained them up yet because, as you know, I'm trying to wait till I have 505 available to start training. But if I wanted to train these recruits up into airlines management, I would push this blue train button on the left. And then, this is where you kind of have to pay attention because you gotta realize that there's scroll downs here. So you gotta pick which area you want them to go into. So let's say I want them to go into airline management. I can say train to entry level, and then this is important. When I first started playing, I didn't realize that there's actually more categories down below if you scroll down here. So there's a scroll area here on the left in the iPad version of the game. And that's really important because otherwise you're going to be missing out on some pretty key areas of the game. So this first category, Intro to the Airline Industry, is focused on ancillary revenues. Here we have another category that's attractiveness of prices, and then this category is for entertainment. So if I wanted to train all these recruits into entry level employees, I would just slide this slider bar left or right, and then just hit train. And you can see it's going to cost me. It would cost a little bit of money to actually train the employees, and then their salaries are actually going to increase as well. So that's that. Now that's to train employees from recruits to entry level. If you wanted to train up from entry level to the next level, as you can see here, I actually have a bunch of professionals, or a couple of professionals in training to become managers. But I don't have any entry level here right now, but if I wanted to train any entry level employees, I would just push that gray entry level button here on the left, and it brings up a different dialog box. And again, here, this is important that you realize that there are some scroll boxes here that you can pick different categories to train them up to. So in this particular case, I think I usually like to train. Oh, actually, this is telling you which where your entry levels are, and then so let's say all my employees were in customer service, then I would push this train to professionals button dialog box here on the right, this gray button here on the right. And then it'll give me another dialog box with even more scrolling. So you have to always be mindful that there's usually several layers of scrolling, and you want to make sure you pick the category that emphasizes the attributes you're looking for. Actually, let me just show you on ground services. So I have 1,500 ground services professionals here, and if I push this middle button with the 1,500 on it, I can walk you through that dialogue. So I don't have anyone in airport customer service or baggage claims and proration, but I have a bunch of professionals here in aircraft turnaround and loading supervision. So if I wanted to train these guys to managers, I would hit this train to managers button. And then this is what I was talking about. There's another menu here where you can pick different categories. So there's like a whole bunch of like subcategories here. So it's kind of like a big branching tree, and you kind of just make sure you pick the branch of the tree that you really want to emphasize. So if I wanted to emphasize passenger demand, I would not pick this bottom category here, leadership and management for ground operations. I would want to go up to the top category because it has the most plus signs in this category, you can see. And I'm not going to train these, but as you slide to the right, it'll show you, the improvement in the attributes here over on the right. So it's actually a pretty drastic improvement in the attributes. But you can see that it's giving me a little warning dialogue here in red that I'm about to train too many managers because I don't have enough employees to have this number of managers. It's not really worth it. So I just stick to the 1 in 100 and don't worry too much on the bonus impact as far as managers go. So that's how training works. And then, of course, training takes time. And so, this is an idle game, and that's how the game makes money, is charging you to accelerate time. Up to you whether or not you want to pay for that. But that's the basics of how training works. And over time, if you if you train up your staff, you can really improve your attributes for these various characteristics. And as most of you know, I'm doing a lot of sort of long haul routes, so I'm really focused on entertainment. Oh, that's weird. I don't know why did it. It's now actually showing you long, short, economy, security, comfort. I wonder how that happened. I have no idea how that happened. Anyone know how that happens? If you know, put it in the comments. So that's about it for training. If you have any other questions, just reply in the comments below and I'll try to address them. Thanks.